Hi, I'm Rose McDonough and I'm a retired home ec teacher, and my cousin had asked me, can you do a tutorial on how to make a mask? Well, there's a whole lot of tutorials out there how to make a mask, and I went online and found a couple that I like. Problem is, every tutorial is showing you how to use your sewing machine. What if you don't have a sewing machine? You need to learn how to do it. I just did a video on hand sewing and how to hand sew. You should go back and look at that because you need the lock-in stitch and you need the long stitch. Those are the two things that are really important. And I'm going to walk you through step by step. It's going to take a little time to do this, but I've got each piece ready to go. I timed myself, and from start to finish it took me about an hour and 5 minutes to do it. Somebody might be thinking, I don't have any fabric at home. What are you kidding? And I'm not want to go to Walmart to get it, or Joann Fabrics isn't open. You don't need to worry about that. I went and looked for things that I had. I had an old t-shirt. And actually it was a new t-shirt, and I thought I can use this t-shirt, so I cut out a piece of t-shirt fabric. You want something soft like this in the middle. Not sure exactly why, because I'm not the scientist, but this is something that they suggest. And then you need something that's a tighter weave, like a cotton. How do you know it's a cotton? Read the label. If you're not 100% sure, you want it to be that it's not giving any stretch. There's no stretch to either piece of this fabric. These are actually old pillowcases. Give a pillowcase up for this. This is important stuff to do. So those are 3 pieces of fabric that you want to get ready. Once you get those ready, 3 pieces of fabric cut out 6 by 9. Certainly you don't need to have 3 different colors. I'm using it because I want to be able to use it as an example. I suggest Erica Arndt. How to make a mask. That's where I went. I ended up using hers. I liked hers the best. It was very simple. But again, mine's going to be hand sewing. Hers is machine. So without further ado, let's get started. So Erica has said on her video about making sure that you have 3 pieces of fabric that are cut 6 by 9 and then some elastic. This elastic is too thin. I found that out the hard way. So I prefer to use this thicker elastic, and those 2 pieces should be cut 7 inches. Keep that in mind. Once you have this, you're ready to go. Put down your lining or your middle fabric, then one of your other pieces, and with right sides together. This is the reason I'm using one that has a design on it. I don't care if this is the right side or the right side on the gray. It does not matter to me. But on this one, it's right sides together. When I hand sew, I don't like to have to guess, am I going in a straight line? I go ahead and I'm leaving a line here. This is going to be my opening, and I'm making lines all the way around a quarter of an inch, sorry. If you go a half of an inch, it's not the end of the world one way or another. I went in on this one and I did a quarter of an inch. I did a half of an inch. Half of an inch all the way around, and that's where you're going to start to sew. If you watched the first video, you saw the lock-in technique, and that's what I'm going to use. I pinned it, but I'm going to work beside it because that's where I want to start. I'm going to go through, pull through, leave that little tail, go through. This is 2 and 3. Remember, I didn't knot anything in. I locked it in. Since I have locked it in, I'm going to go in down here in the bottom, and I'm going to go into my elastic and hook my elastic on and slide it over a little bit. Then I'm going to take a small bite because I'm now going to lock the elastic onto the same fabric, and I'm going to do this once. I have a little bit of a loop there. If I do that, I just pull the threads and see where the loop has come from and go back to sliding my needle back out again, and I'm ready to go. I'm going to do this a second time. That was 1.
This is 2. Another little loop, and I gave a pull, and 3. It's kind of hard because I'm going in exactly the same spot. So I don't have something to put over my finger. I just push down on the needle. A lot of my needles are bent.
When I'm doing this last one, what I did was I put the thread through because I'm making a slip knot. And I want to do that one more time. I'm going to go into here, wrap it around right behind to the left, pull it through. It makes a little knot, and I'm going to do it one more time. When you are doing this, putting this elastic on, make sure you're doing it somewhere close down, because when it's all done, close down to the end of the fabric, because when it's all done, you're going to be putting your next piece on top of it and sewing around. And when you do that, you want to make sure that all of this is covered. Remember this piece. I would now have my elastic in between. I've made my lines and I'm ready to start sewing. I've actually already started with this one to get us going. I've locked in. I'm coming up. I'm doing my long stitch. Remember, a step behind, go forward, a step behind, go forward, so that this side is dotted, this side is closed up. My stitches are not perfect. Who cares? They're going to be in the middle. No one's going to know. When you come to your corners, you lock in, because we're going to be turning those corners, trimming and turning them, and we want to make sure that they're tight corners. So I'm locking in here, and anytime you run out of thread, this is where you lock in again. So I've locked in at the beginning, before I've run out of thread, and at the corners. So I'm going to flip it over, and again, you work in the direction that works for you better. And I'm going to take a little step back, and then I'm coming to my corner. I'm at a corner.
1, 2, and 3.
I'm going to work onto this corner.
1, 2, 3.
And now I'm going to start working forward. So again, I have to flip it. I'm sorry, I hope that didn't make you dizzy seeing it flip all that time. I'm going in between, moving forward.
Take a step back, move forward. Take a step back, move forward. And on and on and on.
Until I probably have about this much thread left. That's when I want to lock it in again. You'll get used to it. If you can only lock in twice, you only lock in twice. If you have to, lock in when you're starting right over where you have been, so that it doesn't unravel and pull away. Once I have sewn all the way around, I'm ready for the next step. And my next step at this time is trimming off some of the corners, because when you flip all the fabric around, there's going to be all those chunks of fabric in that corner trying to fit in. Even when I have done it, it's the last time, it's not perfect. I have my space here, locked in, locked in, locked in. I've checked, all my stitches look good on both sides. And now I'm going to go into the two pieces of your good fabric. For me, it's my fabric that was my pillowcase fabric. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to flip this. Voila! Because I was careful when I was sewing, I was careful not to touch my elastic. So there's my elastic exactly where I wanted it to be at the ends, so that those will be the pieces that will be able to flip over my ears. I've trimmed it, so I now have something that kind of looks like it's a corner. It's a little bit rounded. I'm not really worried about that too much. If you want to, when you watch that other video, you'll see that she goes ahead and she puts something in. I don't have that thing that she has, so I'm just going to use my scissors and gently pop them out just a little bit. That's it. It doesn't need to be perfect. I don't really care. I'm using this to protect myself. I'm not looking for fashion that I need to wear somewhere each day. I want to press this out because I don't want it to be so puffy. And when I do that, I always use a wet cloth and my hot iron. The reason I use a wet cloth is because I don't want to damage the fibers of the fabric. The heat and the water will make steam, and it will help so it doesn't. That's the sound I'm listening for, the sss, like a snake. And then you can see that my fabric is also, my upper fabric is drying out.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
When you look, you can see how much flatter it had been. If I wanted to, I could go in and pull those corners out a little bit more. It's nice and flat on this side. It's good enough for me. I look here, and when I have done this, these pieces have automatically folded in exactly where I need them to be. I can't leave that opening. I could, but I'm not going to. I'm going to do a slip stitch closed. So with my next piece that I have, you're actually going to see a couple different steps going on in here. Starting to look like a mask, a little bit odd looking nonetheless, but it's looking like a mask. I took this end and I folded it in, as you had seen on the other one. Let me grab that again to show you. So I've got this end and it's folded in, and right there, right in between, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to do a lock-in with my thread. I've switched here. I'm using gray because obviously that's the color I'm working with. After I have locked it in, I'm ready to close it up. And I don't want everybody to see these stitches. So I'm taking a bite of the white, a bite of the gray, a bite of the white. Once I've done that, I'm pulling the threads all the way through. But what I like to do, because in case it starts to unravel, is while I'm there, I'm going to stop, go into the bite of the white. I'm going to wrap my thread around and just do a little slip knot right there. Why? So that if it starts to unravel, it's only going to unravel back to where my last stitch had been. So I'm doing another little bite, another little bite, another little bite, and I'm actually going to go all the way up to the white. So I did 4, so maybe there. So I'm coming all the way up into there. I've got that, pull it through, and you see my threads are only pulling through just a little bit. That's actually a basting stitch that we're doing, but once I stop here and I knot it, then it stops pulling, so it stops being a complete baste. A baste is I should be able to pull it all the way around if I wanted to. Alright, I'm almost at the end here. Let me grab this because I want to go on to the next one. If you need to watch this part again, just rewind it and watch it, but I think as long as you're closing it up, it's not really going to matter. I'm going to do that slip knot in there. I've made it to the end of the opening, so I'm just going to go into those little pieces and I'm going to do
1, 2,
and I'm locking in, and with this last one I'm going to go ahead and wrap it around and do the slip knot. And now I know that it's tight and I'm cutting it off close. Nothing is coming out. Remember, your thread should either be between your fingers, in your fabric, or put it someplace safe. You don't want someone accidentally stepping on it. The next thing you want to do is make sure that this is just about 3 inches when you're finished. So you want to fold some pieces in. Some of them I've seen that they fold in the same directions. I just went ahead and fold to the middle and to the middle. You choose what you want to do. What you're going to do at this point is a slip knot. So I already have my thread ready to go, so I don't have to waste your time on this one. So I have my thread. How much do you need? I don't know. You have to make that decision. And again, I'm going to go into the fabrics. I'm going to go 1 and leave a little tail, 2 and 3. Always the locking in. Most important thing that you're going to learn today. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to connect all of these pieces together to the best that I can. There's a whole lot of thicknesses going on, so I'm going to pull it, and I missed a little bit on that one, but that's okay because I'm going to go back and do another piece. I only got a couple fibers, that was the problem, and I'm going to pull it. And because this is just a connecting stitch, we're going to turn it into a slip stitch again. I'm going to go and I'm going to wrap it again. I'm going to go behind to the left, pull it through, and make a knot, and it pulls it tight. And I'm going to do this again. Just step over a few more pieces, wrap it around, right behind, to the left, pull it through, and let's make a knot. And this is a slip stitch all the way across. Right behind, to the left, pull it through, it makes a knot. And again, and as you can see, I'm almost at the end. So I'm guessing you're going to figure out what I'm going to do here. Absolutely not putting a knot in.
1 and 2. So you don't have to be great. You just have to count to 3. That's all you have to be able to do. 2 and
3. 1, 2, 3. I could pull this, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to do it that way. I'm going to safely secure my needle down here into my fabric, and I've got all of them pinned and all of them ready to go. Well, in the magic of preparing yourself, I've actually already sewed all 3 sides, and then we just did the 4th. What I noticed was somewhere along the line I didn't line these up exactly. This is a little bit shorter than this one. Well, that's not going to matter either. You can have it on this side. Maybe my husband wants it on the gray side. Maybe I want it on the pretty side. Who cares? You're going out and protecting yourself. It's very simple to do this. Again, it took me about an hour and 5 minutes from cut out to finish. I'm not sure how long it will take you, but it's a simple thing for you to hand sew for yourself to protect yourself. Please, I didn't know that I should tell you to subscribe, but subscribe if you liked what you saw, because I have a lot of good cooking videos as well. Go out, take some time this weekend, enjoy the outsides, and come back in and sew a mask for yourself. Thanks for joining.